Welcome in the Locked On Phillies. In today's episode, the Philadelphia Phillies win again, and Ranger Suarez is back to his dominance. We also have to have a little bit of a candid conversation about Sir Anthony Dominguez and his recent struggles out of the bullpen. But bottom line, the Philadelphia Phillies are still hot. The victory shirt is on, and we've got another fun episode of Locked On Phillies. Let's get started.
You are Locked On Phillies, your daily Philadelphia Phillies podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Yes, this is Locked On Phillies. I'm your host, Connor Thomas. Sorry, as I play with the microphone there. You've been hearing me on the radio, television, all this stuff in the market in Philadelphia. So I've been talking sports for years over here. Credentialed Philadelphia Phillies media member, host of the Locked On Phillies podcast. Obviously, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Thank you so much for checking us out. Make sure you're rating, reviewing, subscribing to the YouTube, all that good stuff. You hear me make that spiel all the time. Got some other interesting ways to interact coming soon that I'm going to tell you about in the coming days. We'll get into that a little bit later on in the week. But I do want to let you know today's episode is brought to you by eBay Motors. A championship team is about each player being a perfect fit. Same with your vehicle. So for parts that fit, head to eBay Motors and look for the green check. Stay in the game with eBay Guaranteed Fit. ebaymotors.com. Let's ride. eBay Guaranteed Fit only available to U.S. customers. Eligible items only. Exclusions do apply. Now, let's get into what happened last night with the Philadelphia Phillies, the late night Phillies. I know a lot of people haven't been able to stay up for these games recently because they're West Coast games. So I want to go ahead and keep you updated. Also, I saw some comments yesterday. The lower third over here, because I'm switching to a new system. It says Connor Thomas 965. It's Connor Thomas 975. So I'll have to get that fixed up. So we'll get that squared away. But yes, you can follow me on Twitter at Connor Thomas 975. Now, the Phillies took down the Arizona Diamondbacks 4-3 last night. There was good, there was bad, there was certainly ugly, and it was another one of those weird games. But guess what? This has been a really entertaining series in general for Philadelphia Phillies fans. The first game ended up being very upsetting because you lost 9-8, and you had an opportunity to win one. You're up 5-1 in that game, but it was still a crazy game. JT Realmuto hit for the cycle. He's still red hot. We'll talk about that in a second. There was a lot of offense from both sides. There was some interesting pitching from both sides. There was some interesting defense from both sides. It was just that there was a bench clearing argument. I can't call it a brawl or anything. No one was fighting, but the bench is cleared. It was an interesting game. And then the Phillies hang 15 on the Diamondbacks on Tuesday night. That's interesting for us, not so much for the Diamondbacks fan base. But then last night, you have a lower scoring game, but still one that ends up going extra innings, is super interesting during the course of the game. So it's been a fun series out in Arizona. This has been really, I hesitate to say good baseball. It is good baseball, but there have been mistakes here and there that have been glaring, but it's been entertaining baseball for sure. Absolutely. So let's jump into what happened last night. Let's start with the player who really made it happen. Ranger Suarez was the most important player for the Philadelphia Phillies last night. He went 7 innings of 4 hit ball, none earned, no runs given up in general, 2 walks allowed, 7 strikeouts. Now, he had to dance out a little bit of danger with those 4 hits and not giving up a run, but man, was he dominant. He's back to his old ways. He has good stuff. He's got great command. He just handles the outside of the zone well, the corners. He works the margins, as people in sales would say, or people who sell you stocks and bonds. But no, he works the margins of the strike zone, is my point. And Ranger Suarez is back to his old dominance. 2 years ago, he had one of the best seasons I've ever seen from a pitcher and was super underrated because it flew under the radar because the Phillies didn't make the playoffs. But he had a great season. His first season going over 100 innings. He had a sub-2 ERA, I believe. And then last year, he wasn't quite that dominant because people started to figure him out. The longer you're in the league, the more people get a book on you, the more you have to adjust how you do it and hone your craft. But, of course, he was very helpful during the Phillies playoff run, World Series run, all that good stuff. He proved that he could be nails in a big spot, super clutch, Ranger Suarez. So that's good. And then he had the injury this year. So he missed first little bit of the season. He's only a couple starts in. I think he's up to 5 or 6 starts on the season now. I think it's 6. So he still is just working stuff out. But the past couple starts have been dominant. He's starting to look really good. Just to go to the stat line now, He's got a 3.82 ERA now with a 1.33 whip. I mean, he's back. Ranger Suarez is back to being dominant. And with Zach Wheeler throwing the way he is, Taijuan Walker seeming to have figured it out, this rotation is looking better by the day. I still think you need to go out and get another starter at the deadline. I do think, and we're going to talk about it in a little bit as we talk about tonight's game. Sorry about that. That we're going to need to discuss getting another bullpen arm too. And Dave Dombrowski has said in the past that every trade deadline, or no, it wasn't Dave Dombrowski. It was Ruben Amaro Jr., former GM of the Phillies, who's now on the TV broadcast for the Phillies, that was talking about it during one of the games out in Arizona. That says at the trade deadline, you're always looking for more arms. You're always looking to bolster your pitching, whether that's bullpen or starting rotation. I believe the Phillies will be looking to do that again this year, like they did last year with Noah Syndergaard and David Robertson. So we'll be looking at that. But yes, Ranger Suarez was dominant in this one. Then Sir Anthony Dominguez came in the 8th inning, and he gave up 3 hits, 3 runs, 3 earned, and the game is tied. The rest of the bullpen was amazing. Gregory Soto had a good 1/3 of an inning to close that out and clean up Sir Anthony Dominguez's mess. Greg Kimbrell went a beautiful 1 inning to keep the game tied in the bottom of the 9th. And Jose Alvarado with a runner on second in the 10th inning threw a scoreless inning with 1 walk, but 1 strikeout, got out of it, got the save for the win. I mean, it was just beautiful work by Jose Alvarado and the Philadelphia Phillies bullpen, not named Sir Anthony Dominguez. So that was all great. Just to talk about the hitting, the scoring. I mean, there wasn't much in this game from either side, but the Phillies got going early. In the top of the second, Edmundo Sosa grounded into a fielder's choice to shortstop that scored Bryson Stott. Top of the third, JT Realmuto grounded into a fielder's choice to shortstop that scored Trey Turner. Top of the sixth, JT Realmuto homered. It's his second homer in the series. He's got 2 triples, 2 home runs in the series. I mean, he's absolutely on fire right now. The guy is playing amazing baseball, but then of course, Christian Walker hits that home run in the bottom of the 8th off Sir Anthony Dominguez to tie it up at 3. And the way the game ends in the 10th inning, the Philadelphia Phillies have an opportunity to get a runner on second to start in the top of the 10th. And there's immediate pop-up and then a fly ball to right field in which 2 Diamondbacks run into each other. The ball drops. The situation becomes second and third with 1 out. And then Nick Castellanos hits a ball to the wall in center field that ends up being a sacrifice fly to score Brandon Marsh. That's all the Phillies would need. So a major defensive error by the Arizona Diamondbacks, and it plays to the Phillies' favor. Like I said, good, bad, and ugly. And the Phillies had a play in either the 8th or the 9th inning where Brandon Marsh and Kyle Schwarber kind of bumped into each other a little bit out in left field. The ball was already down. It wasn't bad as the Diamondbacks, but still, like, it just, I don't know what's going on in the outfield down in Arizona. But it's been clunky all week. I guess all week. All series, I should rather say. So that was weird. But bottom line, the Phillies come out with a win. It was a good win. And now they're back to 500. Oh, man, that feels good to say. The Phillies back to 500. They can get over 500 with a win tonight. And that game, just to give you a little bit of game info, is at 3:40 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So an afternoon game. You can go ahead and listen to every pitch of the Phillies hometown radio broadcast for that 3:40 p.m. Eastern Standard Time game on the SiriusXM app. Just go to the SXM app and search Phillies. And coming up, we're going to discuss a little bit about that game coming up and everything you have going on heading into the contest that could give the Phillies a 3-1 series victory over the Arizona Diamondbacks. And that would just be a great setup for this West Coast road trip that would conclude in Oakland. And we'll talk about that later on in the week. But yes, Phillies Diamondbacks game 4. We'll discuss it coming up as we continue Locked On Phillies. All right, let me tell you about Birddogs. Now, I'm going down to North Carolina on a golf trip. I have a golf trip coming up. I'm actually leaving right after this. I'm recording this at like 7:40 in the morning. I got to go meet my brother at 8:15 to drive down to North Carolina. And it's going to be hot. We're going to be playing a bunch of golf. It's going to be awesome. So the first things I packed were my 2 pairs of Birddog shorts. I mean, Birddogs have everything you need to make you look good, feel good, play good, swim good, talk to girls good, drink good. Like, whatever you want to get into in the summer, Birddog shorts are perfect for it. I mean, Birddog stretch khaki shorts are designed to fit slimmer through the thigh and leg, giving you a truly sculpted look. And this is how their shorts are. Their shorts just don't look good on you. They make you look good wearing them. They're absolutely amazing. They fit way better than regular shorts that are made of a stiff, restricting cotton. Birddogs, they invented cloud knit fabric. That just sounds comfortable. And it looks just like khaki, but it stretches so you get a way slimmer fit without having to sacrifice movement. They use anti-stink sweat wicking fabric that keeps you cool and dry all day long. The amount of technology that went into building these shorts could put a man on the moon. But instead, the folks at Birddogs, thank goodness, because I don't really want to go to the moon, they built the perfect shorts. So that's great. I mean, they're absolutely amazing. There's no better short that I own. I own a bunch. I'm a big shorts guy. I'm a big shorts guy. I got the 5-inch inseam Birddog shorts. They make my legs look awesome, show off those thighs. And I can't recommend them enough. There's no better short on the market. If you think you don't look good in shorts, you haven't tried Birddogs yet. If you think you do look good in shorts, imagine how much better you're going to look in Birddogs. So go to birddogs.com/lockedonmlb for a free Yeti-style tumbler with your order. I've got that pack too, because I'm going to need some water on the way down and while I'm on the golf course. It's clutch to have. That's birddogs.com/lockedonmlb for a free Yeti-style tumbler. You won't want to take your Birddogs off. We absolutely promise you. All right, let's get into this matchup, Phillies and Diamondbacks today, 3:40 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. You can hear every pitch of the Phillies' hometown radio broadcast on the Sirius XM app, so go ahead and check that out on the SXM app. Just search Phillies, and you'll be able to pull that all up. Now, we'll start by discussing the starting pitching matchup. The Phillies had like a 30-some% chance via the analytics, the ESPN analytics, to win last night against Merrill Kelly, and they got the job done by being patient at the plate. Today, they have a 45% chance to win against Arizona's 55% chance to win. Part of that because inconsistencies. The big question mark is on the mound. Shaquille O'Neal famously used to call himself like the big Shamrock or the big Aristotle or whatever you called him. We had Ryan Howard, the big piece. Aaron Nola is the big question mark. You never know what you're getting. You know he's talented, but you never know the consistency. It could be 8 innings of no-hit ball. It could be 7 runs in the first inning. But he's on the mound for the series finale in Arizona. He's got a 5-5 record, I should say, with a 4.6 ERA and a 1.1 WHIP. The ERA is much higher than the WHIP, and that's because he's given up 14 home runs already this year. He's on pace to give up more home runs this season than he has in any other season in his career. He's going to face off against Ryan Nelson, who's got a 3-3 record for Arizona, a 4.95 ERA, 41 strikeouts, and a 1.46 WHIP. Now, he's thrown a total this season of 67 1/3 innings, and as far as strikeouts for Ryan, he's got 41. So he doesn't really have the strikeout pitch working. He's also walked 24 in 67 innings, while Aaron Nola's walked 23 in 88 innings. It's going to be a very similar approach, and another righty, a very similar approach to what you saw from Merrill Kelly last night's game. He's going to be a good pitcher, but he's going to use his pitches, which means if you get 4 balls, he's going to use 3 of them. Like, he works around the zone. He has good stuff, but you can be patient against Ryan Nelson and create opportunities on the base paths. He's given up 8 home runs, so yeah, the long ball can absolutely be a factor, but it kind of is for everyone out there in Arizona. Short corners, the ball flies down there because of the dry air. I mean, it just is what it is. It's tough to pitch in that park sometimes, depending on what the weather is like and if the roof is open, all that good stuff. You get it. It's tough to pitch in Arizona. So those numbers could be a bit inflated, but you want to be patient. You want to get guys on base, and you want to do what the Phillies did last night. Just create opportunities early and cash in. Now, what I will say, looking at last night, is that the Philadelphia Phillies had a lot of opportunities early that they didn't cash in on. They weren't good with runners in scoring position again. They got away with it because they just made productive outs, but that game could have easily been 6-0 in the 3rd inning. They had opportunities, and they just didn't really cash in. So the clutchness of the Phillies lineup needs to pick up in today's game if they're going to go ahead and figure everything out. Of course, Aaron Nola is the most important piece. If you don't get and I'm going to bring him over right here so he knows what I'm talking about. I got my Aaron Nola bobblehead that I'm going to hold up right here. Aaron Nola, are you going to pitch well today? He's nodding his head yes, but if you don't get a good start from this guy right here, there's not much that you're going to be able to do. I'm going to set him back now because I don't feel like holding the bobblehead the whole time. That's why you got to subscribe to the YouTube so you can see me pull out my random bobblehead collection. If you don't get a good start from Aaron Nola, you're going to be behind the 8 ball right off the bat. Yeah. You don't have an opportunity to come back from like a 6-run deficit against this Diamondbacks team. I mean, technically you do, but you don't want to be down on the road to a team whose offense is this good. And they tack on late. Like last night, they were out of that game. And then big 3-run home run late off Cervantes Dominguez makes it a tie ball game, makes you have to go to extras to win it. Like the Diamondbacks are a very, very, very good team. That's why they're 41-27. you got to go ahead and take care of them early, get up on them, and then put them out of it early. And you have a chance to, but the only way you do that is if your starting pitching gives you an opportunity to, and Aaron Nola needs to come out and be really good. It'd be nice to see the Philadelphia Phillies get some runs in the first inning again and create an opportunity for Aaron Nola to pitch with a lead, even though he stinks pitching with a lead. But all this stuff could potentially help Aaron Nola. That's stuff to look at. As far as guys that you need to get going, again, Phillies Diamondbacks today, 3:40 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. You can hear every pitch of the Phillies hometown radio broadcast of that game on the SiriusXM app. Just go to the SXM app and search Phillies. I talked about it yesterday, and I talked about Bryce Harper and how he needs to get going. He hasn't been good. He's been slumping, and he's been covered up by his teammates being a little bit hot right now. If that's Nick Castellanos, JT Realmuto, Bryson Stott, Kyle Schwarber warming up, Trey Turner, all that good stuff. Well, Bryce Harper went 0 for 4 with a walk last night. He's still kind of in a rough spot. He's down to hitting 290, which down to hitting 290 is not bad. But he had a really good start to the year, and he was over 300, and you expect him to be right around that mark because he's the best overall player on this team in general. I know I always said it was Trey Turner. He's got to prove that to me. So right now, I just still think Bryce Harper is the most talented player on this roster. Maybe not the most consistent all the time because he is a bit of a power hitter. Bottom line, he's got to be better. And he's got another opportunity, a right-handed pitcher in Ryan Nelson that he could get after. He's going to DH again today. So Bryce has an opportunity to break through today. And I'd really love to see him do that before you go to Oakland and play the hottest team in baseball in the Oakland Athletics. So that's something to absolutely keep an eye on. But Bryce Harper and Aaron Nola are my two guys to focus on for this game. The rest of the guys are going to take care of stuff. I mean, Nick Castellanos stayed hot last night. He was very, very good in last night's 4-3 win, including that game-winning RBI. I know he was only 1 for 4, but that was good enough considering how the Philadelphia Phillies swung the bats. Trey Turner was 1 for 4. JT Realmuto, 1 for 4 with a home run and 2 RBIs. Bryson Stott, 1 for 4 with a big run scored. Brandon Marsh, big run scored in extras, even though it was 0 for 4. I mean, there was some production up and down the lineup, even though no one had a multi-hit game. But you had a lot of guys with 1 hit. So spread it out and create opportunities. And the bigger thing is the base running, I thought was really good from the Philadelphia Phillies last night, which is something you can't always say about them. So, yes, good win for the Phillies. They're back to 500. Coming up, we're going to take a look at the standings and also a look at what's going on in this final series of the road trip. And once the Phillies get done in Arizona, just a general frame of the Oakland Athletics and where they're at, because they're one of the great stories in baseball right now. We'll talk about that coming up as we wrap up Locked On Phillies. All right, let's talk about, first of all, the standings for the Philadelphia Phillies. Now that they're back to 500, where are they at in the division? Well, they're still 8 games back of the 42-26 Atlanta Braves, and they're still 3.5 back of the Miami Marlins, who sit at 38-31. The Marlins catchable. The Braves may not be, but the Mets are 2 games back on you. The Nationals are 7 games back on you. I'm not a big math guy. Figured it out, though. So you got that all worked out. I mean, they got a great opportunity to make some noise in the division if they continue to stay this hot. The Phillies do. And with the Athletics coming up, I mean, they do have an opportunity to stay this hot. The other thing that's nice is the Phillies, whose run differential has not been great at points this year. That 15-3 victory, well, it helped them cut that down. They now have the second best run differential in the division at -21. The Braves are the only positive team at +72. So, yeah, there's a bit of a gap there between the top team in the NL East and the next best team in the NL East when it comes to run differential. But the good news is the Phillies' run differential is now better than the Mets, who are -23, the Marlins, who were in second place with a -30 run differential, and the Nationals, who are down in the basement at -51. Also, looking at the wild card, just to keep an eye on that, because that's the more realistic scenario for the Philadelphia Phillies. The Phils are 2 games back of the San Francisco Giants for the final wild card spot. The Dodgers, Marlins, and Giants are all in wild card spots right now. The Brewers and the Phillies are both at 500, 34-34 each, respectively. And the Phillies are trailing for that spot. Now, the Brewers have a -25 run differential to the Phillies -21. So the Phillies are starting to make themselves look more and more like one of those fringe playoff teams. And it's still only early June, or I guess mid-June. So when you look at that and you say, the Phillies are playing well right now. They've got all this time to make up ground. They're already starting to look like a fringe playoff team. Yeah, I mean, the top wildcard spot isn't out of the question. They're only 4 games back from that. The division isn't totally out of the question. I mean, 8 games is crazy, but you still play the Braves a bunch, and eventually they got to kind of hit a cool stretch. the Braves do. So that's a good opportunity. I mean, yeah, this is far, far, far from over, and the Phillies are getting hot at the right time, so that's a good sign. They can take 3 or 4 from the Diamondbacks if they win today behind a good start from Aaron Nola. Hopefully they do. I'm not expecting anything because it's Aaron Nola, but I said I want 5 wins on this road trip, and I want 2 of them to come in Arizona, and you should beat Oakland 3 times. Well, that was before the Oakland Athletics became the hottest team in baseball. Now, they lost last night, actually. They lost to the Rays, ending their 7-game winning streak. But prior to that, they had won 2 against the Pirates. Then they swept the Brewers. Then they took 2 from the from the Rays. I mean, they were incredible. And the reverse boycott game they had the other night, if you hadn't seen that, go ahead and search that, the Oakland Athletics reverse boycott game, where the fans showed up and showed out, proving that they're not the problem with that franchise and that they don't want their team to be moved. All that's great. Here's the other thing. Here's the way I look at it, right? When I see the Oakland Athletics, I see their current record listed at 19-51. I realize they're probably a 100-loss team. So they're probably about they might be more than a 100-loss team. Let's call them a 110-loss team. So that would make them a 52-win team. They've got 20 already. The more wins that they compile early on in the season, the more likely it is that a team that you see as a 110-win team goes through a cold stretch and compiles losses as well. So the fact that they just won 7, I mean, that to me says that they're due, because of the quality of the team, to go ahead and have a rough stretch. They're going to get to 100 losses. And I don't have any doubt about that. And to do that, they're going to have to lose a lot more baseball games. And they just won a bunch, so they're due to lose a bunch. It's just the simple idea of, if they're going to be a 100-loss team, and you truly believe they are, well, they're going to hit more cold stretches than hot stretches. They just hit a hot stretch, so the likelihood is they're probably going to go into a cold stretch here for a little bit. And the Philadelphia Phillies, I think, are actually playing them at a great time, considering how hot the A's have been, because they're going to come back down to earth. You could say the same about the Phillies, who are 8-2 in their last 10, but the Phillies are a more quality roster, a way better team than what you're seeing in the Oakland Athletics. So I'm expecting 2 of 3 this weekend in Oakland, and I really would like a sweep there. So even if you drop this game to the Diamondbacks today, and I don't want to do that, I think the Phillies have a great opportunity to win 3 of 4 against Arizona. But even if you do, and you split the series against the top team out in the NL West, and then you get the basement of the NL West, and you can go ahead and the basement of the NL West, the basement of the AL West, and you have an opportunity to stack wins there and get everything all squared away. So, yes, great opportunity this weekend. Already a great series in Arizona for the Phillies, and we've got a really good opportunity to keep everything going. So we'll keep an eye on that. I'll talk to you next time, but that's all for Locked On Phillies. Thank you for checking us out. Make sure you're rating, reviewing, subscribing. Locked On Phillies, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day. Thank you so much for checking us out, and I will talk to you next time, hopefully after a Phillies series win in Arizona, on the next episode of Locked On Phillies.